My dear sisters and brothers, a very good morning to you all. And I'm very happy to represent the Vatican at the Parliament here and speak on the theme of the Vatican's contribution to world peace from Pacem in Terris to Laudato Si and beyond. And I bring you best wishes, prayers, and blessings from Pope Francis. I was asked to speak on the recent Vatican and papal attitudes on issues of war and peace. And the papacy is a very old institution, nearly 2,000 years old. So for me, the reason meant at least the last 50 years. So I will speak on how the Vatican's attitudes towards peace and war and these issues have evolved over the last 50 years or so, based on human dignity, justice and development, the primacy of the human person, then peace with the entire creation, and working towards a radical commitment towards peace. So I have 5 themes, 2 minutes each. We begin with the theme of peace centered around the promotion of human dignity, this very important document of Saint John the 23rd, who in 1963, after this document was published, was named the Man of the Year by the Time magazine. We need to remember the overall context of this very important document. We have the world on the brink of a nuclear war, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Second Vatican Council, and very important, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Second Vatican Council, and the Proclamation of the Human Rights. And in this document, Pope John the 23rd puts the emphasis on human dignity. In Pacem in Terris, peace on earth, the Pope put forward a dynamic appeal to work for peace, for a peace that's grounded in a national and international political order that fosters and supports a comprehensive framework of wide-ranging human rights. Human dignity is the basis of human rights, the guaranteeing of which alone can lead to peace. And I was last week preparing this talk. I was impressed by the freshness of this document. We can read it together. Number 11, the human person has the right to live. He or she has the right to bodily integrity and to the means necessary for the proper development of life, particularly food, clothing, shelter, medical care. Health care is not charity. It's a human right. Rest, and finally, the necessary social services. I mean, even after 55 years, where are we? Are we fulfilled these rights? And the second stage is peace through promotion of justice and development. A very important document from Saint Pope Paul VI, Populorum Progressio, the development of peoples. And 1965, he goes to New York. The Vietnam war was still on. And he made this cry, no more war, war never again. It is peace, peace which must guide the destinies of peoples and of all mankind, of humanity. We know this appeal fell on deaf ears, so his entire papacy was centered on the theme of peace, and peace in a very concrete terms. He said, development is the new name for peace, and very prophetic words. God intended the earth and everything in it for the use of all human beings and peoples. Thus, under the leadership of justice and in the company of charity, created goods should fairly flow to all. And the third stage is Saint John Paul II, peace and the primacy of the human person. We know he was called the Pilgrim of Peace, a person who went around the world. And John Paul II consistently stressed that the dignity of the human person, and incidentally he did his doctorate on that, is the foundation of the promotion and defense of his or her inalienable human rights. In fact, in 1981, his message for the World Day of Peace is respect freedom. 1991, respect human consciousness. In 1986, he hosted the Assisi meeting of prayer for peace with all the world's major religious leaders. And he was really opposed to war. He stood up to the US on the Iraq invasion, and he said, addressing the ambassadors, war is not something that is inevitable. And ultimately, when we go into war, it is a symbol of defeat for humanity. Very powerful words. And we move to the fourth stage. It's interesting how peace is emerging in the vision of the Vatican. Peace not just among us, but peace with the entire creation, where the groundwork was already done by Pope John Paul II in 1990 when he sent the message for the World Day of Peace. Peace with God the Creator, peace with all of creation. And Benedict XVI, 2009, if you want to cultivate peace, protect creation. And Pope Benedict sometimes is sort of understated. He was also a Green Pope who in 2008 put solar panels on the for the sixth hall of the Vatican. So Vatican is carbon neutral to an extent. And especially Pope Francis. Pope Francis, for him, peace has been a constant theme, as it was for his namesake, Saint Francis of Assisi. One of his first messages, let's become channels through which God can water the earth, protect all creation, and make justice and peace flourish. Laudato Si, this really beautiful document we have. And in that he says, I believe that St. Francis is the example par excellence of care for the vulnerable and of integral ecology, lived out joyfully and authentically. St. Francis shows us how just inseparable the bond is: better concern for nature, justice for the poor, commitment to society, and interior peace. I mean, peace at 4 levels: peace with God the Creator, peace with the whole of creation, peace with our fellow human beings, also other species, but also the interior peace, which is so important. And I go to the last stage, again with Pope Francis, who is moving towards a very radical commitment towards peace. The commitment towards nonviolence, his message for the 2017 message for the World Day of Peace, in which he sort of remembers that in all religious traditions, nonviolence is at the core. And he reminds us, let's never tire of repeating, the name of God cannot be used to justify violence. Peace alone is holy. Peace alone is holy, not war. And Pope Francis is moving very radically towards total disarmament against nuclear weapons when he said in the 2017 Vatican Conference on Disarmament that for the first time, even the possession of nuclear weapons is immoral. It's not just deterrence. And on 8th of January, he said that nuclear weapons should be banned, and the Vatican is supporting the treaty which was adopted but not signed by many countries at the United Nations on 24th of May to ban nuclear weapons. And the last sign that he's really moving towards very radical positions is a total respect for life. Against death penalty, he has changed the catechism of the church and said very clearly, teaches, that the death penalty is inadmissible because it's an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person. Because life is God's gift. No one has the right to take it away. Even when someone has killed someone else, that person does not lose his or her dignity. And the church works with determination for its abolition worldwide. And I was very happy to hear that every month Pope has an intention for prayer. And this month of November is in the service of peace. Maybe we can, just 10 seconds, in the silence of our hearts, whisper this prayer, along with Pope Francis, with all religions, that the language of love and dialogue may always prevail over the language of conflict. Let me conclude with a small gesture. It has always struck me when the risen Jesus appeared. Every time his salutation was, peace be with you. Peace is God's greatest gift to humanity. I come from India originally. And India, when we meet a person, we hold our hands, we say namaste. It's a way of recognizing that God is present in the other person. So let's turn to one another, to our neighbor, the person sitting on your left and right. Look into his or her eyes and recognize God present in that person. Namaste. Thank you very much.